Excessive sleep and idleness may seem harmless, but are they really? According to the Bible, both can keep us from living a full and productive life. For many, the challenge is finding the right balance between rest and diligence. While rest is essential for health and well-being, it can easily turn into laziness, preventing us from achieving our potential and mission. Proverbs warns us that a little sleep, a little drowsiness, a little laziness can lead to serious consequences, such as lack of purpose and neglect of responsibilities. Proverbs 6 verses 10 to 11. For those seeking to live a purposeful life, balancing rest and action becomes essential. Idleness leaves us vulnerable to discouragement, lack of discipline, and often distances us from God and our mission on earth. And this is where the main problem arises. How can we distinguish between the rest we need and the sleep that leads to idleness? In modern life, it is easy to get lost in distractions and end up allowing rest to turn into discouragement. Here, Proverbs offers us valuable advice, highlighting the importance of diligence and the wise use of time. Learning the difference between restorative rest and excessive sleep is the first step in establishing a routine that reflects our spiritual commitment and our desire for a balanced life. Proverbs presents us with a series of lessons about sleep, idleness, and the importance of diligence. One of the most well-known verses on the subject says, "How long will you lie there, you sluggard? When will you get up from your sleep?" Proverbs 6 verse 9. This passage, in a tone of warning, makes us reflect on the value of being alert and productive. For the book of Proverbs, laziness is not just an undesirable habit. It is a barrier that prevents us from fulfilling our purpose and living according to God's will. In addition to Proverbs 6 verses 9 to 11, other verses reinforce this message. Proverbs 20 verse 13, for example, warns us, "Do not love sleep, or you will come to poverty. Keep your eyes open, and you will have plenty of food." The emphasis here is not only on material aspects, but on living an awake, alert, and committed life. The Bible understands that lack of diligence and laziness have profound consequences that go beyond the financial sphere, affecting the very quality of spiritual and moral life. It is interesting to note that Proverbs distinguishes legitimate rest from idleness. Rest, when taken at the right time, is a blessing and a human necessity. After all, even God rested after creation. But Proverbs shows that excessive sleep, the act of loving sleep, symbolizes the escape from responsibilities and the neglect of divine purposes. The Bible does not suggest that rest is wrong, but rather that, when unbalanced, it becomes harmful. Understanding this ancient wisdom leads us to an important reflection on how we are using our time. Are we practicing the type of rest that God intended for us, the one that renews our strength to remain diligent and committed to our mission? Or are we falling into the trap of laziness, which distances us both from our purpose and from a full life? The concept of balance between work and rest is a fundamental principle in Scripture. From the beginning, we see that God established a rhythm of creation and rest. In the Genesis account, after 6 days of work creating the universe, God rested on the seventh day, blessing and sanctifying that time. This example is a clear message that rest is necessary and sacred, but it must also be accompanied by an active and productive life. Proverbs reinforces this notion by highlighting the importance of living a balanced life. Diligent work is described as a characteristic of the wise, while excessive sleep and laziness are often associated with recklessness and ruin. In Proverbs 24 verses 30 to 34, we read about the field of the sluggard, full of thorns and unproductive, which serves as a warning about the consequences of idleness. This contrast between diligence and laziness reflects the need for a harmonious balance between productive activities and regenerative rest. In the Christian life, work is not just an obligation. It is an act of worship and service. When we work with dedication, we are using the gifts and talents that God has given us, contributing to society and living in a way that is faithful to God's purposes. However, rest is also an expression of our faith, as it reminds us that we are not in control of everything. The Bible teaches us that trusting God also means knowing when to stop, rest, and allow Him to renew our strength. To achieve this balance, it is important to avoid extremes. Both unbridled activism, which leads to exhaustion and spiritual burnout, and laziness, which generates stagnation and prevents us from progressing. The biblical message is clear. The balance between work and rest is an expression of wisdom and responsibility. It allows us to live a full life, in which work strengthens our faith and rest renews us to serve better. This balance is a daily practice that requires discipline and discernment. As we seek a balanced life, we follow the example of Christ, who also demonstrated times of intense work and retreat for rest and prayer. Thus, we are invited to seek a rhythm of life that brings us closer to God, strengthens our faith, and allows us to live with purpose. When we follow the biblical model of balance between work and rest, the benefits become visible not only in our spiritual life, but also in our mental, emotional, and physical health. Proverbs teaches us that balance promotes wisdom and stability. A well-balanced routine helps us stay focused and prevents us from falling into the trap of exhaustion or idleness. One of the first benefits of this balance is mental clarity. By alternating between periods of dedication and rest, our mind stays fresh and prepared to face daily challenges. Adequate rest improves our ability to make decisions and reduces stress, while diligent work brings us closer to our goals, strengthening our sense of accomplishment. In addition, living a balanced life directly impacts our professional and personal lives. By maintaining a routine that values both work and rest, we develop discipline and consistency. Over time, this translates into greater productivity and healthier relationships, both at work and in our family life. The person who practices this balance lives with a clear purpose and transmits peace and confidence to those around them. Spiritually, this balance allows us to connect more deeply with God. When we work and rest in an orderly fashion, our times of devotion and prayer become more meaningful. We view rest as a time of spiritual renewal, allowing us to return to work with stronger faith and a calmer disposition. The balance between work and rest, therefore, is a blessing that leads to a more fulfilling life. It frees us from the extremes of idleness and activism and offers us the opportunity to live according to the principles of wisdom taught in Proverbs. This harmony between action and rest is essential to a fulfilling life and to continued growth in our Christian journey. To implement the biblical balance between work and rest, it is essential to adopt practical strategies that bring this principle into daily life. The first tip is to establish a healthy routine. Organizing sleep and work schedules helps to create a balanced rhythm of life, avoiding both oversleeping and burnout. By setting a time to go to bed and a time to wake up, our mind and body begin to function more efficiently and in a coordinated manner. Another helpful practice is to set daily goals. Small goals help to maintain focus and avoid procrastination, which can lead to task piling up and stress. When we break our tasks down into smaller steps, we can work consistently and productively without feeling like we are sacrificing our mental or spiritual health. In addition, it is essential to set aside intentional moments of rest. These periods do not have to be long, but they should be frequent. Taking short breaks throughout the day allows our bodies and minds to recover, helping to maintain productivity. And most importantly, we should use the rest time to strengthen our spiritual connection. Prayer, reflection, and Bible reading during breaks are great ways to renew our faith while we rest. Finally, learn to prioritize your responsibilities. This means knowing how to distinguish between what is essential and what can wait. With this approach, we avoid being overwhelmed with commitments and preserve time for moments of rest, creating a healthy cycle of activity and rest. With these tips, the balance between work and rest becomes an achievable practice, reflecting the principles of wisdom from Proverbs in our daily lives. We have reached the end of this journey through the wisdom of Proverbs on the balance between work and rest. As we have seen, this balance is more than a practical matter. It is a reflection of our faith and a path to a full and orderly life, according to God's principles. Excessive sleep and idleness can distance us from our purposes, but by living in a balanced way, we find clarity, productivity, and spiritual renewal. Now, it is your turn to put these principles into practice. Share your experiences and strategies for maintaining a balance between rest and activity in the comments. And if you want to learn more about how the Bible can guide your daily life, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Let's continue growing together in faith and wisdom, walking towards a life that honors God in every aspect.